Why keep a secret about probably one of the most important events in history, that there's been contact from an alien civilization? It's a significant event in history, more significant than anything.
In May 1989, Bob Lazar appeared in a special interview with investigative reporter George Knapp on Las Vegas TV station KLAS under the pseudonym Dennis, and with his face hidden, to discuss his purported employment at S-4, a subsidiary facility he claimed exists near United States Air Force Facility Area 51. He said the facility was adjacent to Papoose Lake, which is located south of the main Area 51 facility at Groom Lake, and included concealed aircraft hangars built into a mountainside. He said that he was involved in the reverse engineering of several flying saucers.
He will no longer hide the truth. Bob Lazar claims our government captured alien spaceships, UFOs, and keeps them in a secret warehouse. And that's not all. Bob says Uncle Sam hired him to figure out how they fly. If you're skeptical, you have plenty of company. Lazar has been questioned and criticized. He even had to take a lie detector test, and that's when some people started believing him.
He appeared under his own name and unmasked in a subsequent interview with Knapp in November. Lazar is responsible for bringing the secret test site Area 51 to the attention of the general public. He claims that the propulsion of the studied vehicles was fueled by atomic element 115 moscovium, which wasn't even discovered till 2003, and that this was used to generate gravity waves. He claims that he was given briefing documents describing the historical involvement by extraterrestrial beings, gray aliens, from a planet that orbited the twin binary system Zeta Reticuli with Earth for the past 10,000 years. Lazar's story garnered media attention and controversy and has some supporters. However, the majority of the scientific community remains skeptical. He claims to have worked as a scientist in the Meson Physics facility at the Los Alamos National Laboratory, and he has stated that his academic records were erased in an effort by the authorities to discredit his story. Claiming to have seen test flights of 9 captured UFOs in a TV interview in 1989, the American also said he'd worked as an engineer on the alien spacecrafts. Bob said there were 9 discs of extraterrestrial origin being tested and studied there. He insisted that he had no idea how the government got their hands on these spaceships, and that his life had been threatened over this information. The US government denied the existence of Area 51 until a CIA document released in 2013 listed it as an aviation test site. In the documentary, Lazar claims the FBI raided his lab. He said, "At the risk of sounding paranoid, I do always have a suspicion that someone is monitoring me. It's something that is difficult to get out of my mind." Lazar's main gripes with the US government are consistent with the concerns he shared decades ago, that people are not just being robbed of the truth about extraterrestrial life, but of awesome technology that has the power to shift the entire world economy. In the on-camera interview, Lazar describes how he recalls technology that produces and controls gravity and uses it for propulsion. The American claims that this is a reactionless craft, and that instead of expelling something like air or exhaust, it creates a distortion in space and time in front of it, where space actually bends. Lazar says this technology couldn't possibly have been human-made. There's another civilization in existence that's intelligent that we know about, and we actually have artifacts from them. The science and the technology can change us dramatically. Crucially, in Bob Lazar, Area 51, and flying saucers, Lazar stops short of claiming that he ever saw aliens at the site. He does say that the seats in the saucers were small and almost child-size. There was a nickname for the aliens around the facility. They were referred to as the Kids. Asked whether it bothers him that he's widely disbelieved, he says, "What else can I say? I have better things to do than come up with this. I could make up a better lie, but I have no motivation to lie." The Bob Lazar story is incredible. The smoking gun that all these years later is seemingly slowly being accepted. Perhaps the slow release is deliberate. His story is backed up by accounts of elements that never existed at the time of 1989, and the denial of Area 51 until much more recently, and of course this all coincides with the government releasing UFO footage in 2017, around about this time last year in fact. Is it just a coincidence? What do you guys think of this anyway? Comments below, and as always, thank you for watching.
Has the inside report. The man who wants to blow the lid off what could be the greatest story never told, and the people who seem to be trying to stop him.
Strange lights over Las Vegas, within view of tourists and gamblers along the city's Casino Row. What are the odds these are alien spacecraft out for an evening spin? Or would you bet they're simply standard aircraft, or worse yet, some kind of hoax? Before you decide, take a look at another shot on this home video, where what does appear to be an aircraft strays into view along with the lights. Strange things like this have been appearing over the Nevada desert for years. The answer to the mystery may lie in the sprawling Nevada nuclear test site just north of the city, in a place called Area 51. Area 51 is known by other names: Groom Lake, Dreamland, the Skunk Works. It's an isolated military facility where the U.S. develops its most top-secret projects. The U-2 spy plane was developed here. So was its replacement, the high-flying Blackbird, along with the current stealth aircraft and Star Wars. But there are some who believe these formerly secret projects are nothing compared to what's currently under wraps. Not too many people live out here in the remote sections of the Nevada desert, far from the lights of Las Vegas. But here, on the edge of the secret U.S. government test facilities, people have been seeing strange things for years. Some of them talk about it, a lot of them don't. But no one who has actually worked on the test site has ever talked about what goes on there. No one, that is, until now.
They are actively and have in their possession alien spacecraft, and they are actively undergoing analysis.
And flying them?
And flying them.
Bob Lazar is an engineer and physicist who says he worked on flying saucers for the U.S. government at Area 51. He drew these sketches of one of 9 different saucers he says the government has in a secret warehouse. Lazar gave the saucers each names according to their various shapes: Top Hat, the Sport Model, the Jello Mold. Called in to help figure out how they work, Lazar says the saucers are powered by an antimatter generator, fueled with an element which he says could only have come from another planet.
They set up and produce their own gravitational field. Just as the Earth holds all matter down, they produce that same field, but out of phase, and it repels itself. The effects that can cause, the way in which everything operates is by all intents and purposes, magic. I mean, it is so far beyond our level of technology.
Now, before you toss Lazar on the pile with all the other UFO wackos, understand that he willingly agreed to take a lie detector test, requested and independently arranged by a Las Vegas reporter. Terry Tavernetti is the ex-cop who administered the test.
If he's lying, he ought to be in Hollywood, because he gave absolutely no physiological indications of attempting deception.
Lazar says he was referred to his government job by Dr. Edward Teller, the renowned scientist who helped develop the atomic bomb. But in a rare interview with Inside Report, Teller insisted he doesn't know Lazar, or at least doesn't remember him.
I think it appears that someone's trying to wipe him out.
George Knapp is the Las Vegas TV reporter who first aired Bob Lazar's amazing claims. He says he ran into unusual problems just trying to look into Lazar's background. Though Lazar claimed to have once worked at the Los Alamos National Laboratory, government officials denied they knew anything about him. But when Knapp came up with a phone directory listing Lazar's name, Los Alamos grudgingly admitted he had spent some time there. Officials at the hospital where Lazar was born even denied the simple fact he was born there, until Knapp tracked down the doctor who delivered Lazar.
I find Bob to be credible, and the main reason is because the story hasn't changed. It's stayed from the beginning. It's been the same. It hasn't expanded like some of these UFO tales you hear. It's been the same. And we've been through a lot of different interview sessions, many on camera, many more off camera. And it stayed exactly the same, consistent.
But even inside the community of UFO believers, there are many who are skeptical of Bob Lazar's claims. Nuclear physicist Stanton Friedman says Lazar may indeed be the real thing. But he says he can also believe Lazar might be a hoaxer, or worse yet, a government agent spreading false stories designed to cover more important secrets.
I find Bob Lazar as somebody who isn't silly, who doesn't say totally stupid things, who comes across well. But I certainly, until I get verification, cannot endorse the legitimacy of what he is saying.
Bob Lazar says he quit his job working on the government saucers when his bosses began harassing him because he was letting others in on the big secret. But now that others are greeting his claims with skepticism and outright hostility, he says he wishes he just kept his big mouth shut. Lazar says he never took the idea of breaking security lightly. He just wanted to let the world in on a story he says we all should have been told.
Why keep a secret about probably one of the most important events in history, that there's been contact from an alien civilization? It's a significant event in history, more significant than anything.
In 1987, when the Air Force sought to renew its stranglehold on the Groom Range, news articles once again mentioned the talk about alien spacecraft, and subsequent articles in national magazines quoted unnamed sources about things of alien origin flying in Nevada, things that would make filmmaker George Lucas drool. Despite the speculation, no one who knew Area 51 from the inside ever talked publicly about the saucer stories.
Well, there's several, actually 9 flying saucers, flying discs, that are out there of extraterrestrial origin.
The live interview with the shadowy Dennis drew international attention. Portions were broadcast by radio in 6 European countries and in a nationally televised TV special in Japan.
Actually 9 flying saucers, flying discs.
Despite numerous inquiries and feelers, Dennis has remained anonymous until now. His real name is Robert Lazar, a young scientist with eclectic interests. The choice of Dennis was an inside joke. He says that's the name of his superior at Groom Lake. It wasn't a joke to Dennis.
He called right after and he said, "Do you have any idea what we're going to do to you now?" And I said, "Well, no." And he hung up the phone.
Lazar's story is, by any standards, fantastic. He says he's telling it in order to protect himself. He says he was hired to work at an area called S4, which is a few miles south of Groom Lake. At S4, he says, are flying saucers, antimatter reactors, and other working examples of technology that is seemingly beyond human capability.